Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Pam Wright, who is a Master Faster EFT practitioner. She's the only one in the Southern Hemisphere and only one of 5 in the entire world. So today it's my pleasure to delve a little bit further into the life of Pam Wright and her journey and what has brought her to where she is today. So tell me all about the journey of Pam Wright.
Okay, well, I guess I come from very humble beginnings. I was brought up in an emotionally dysfunctional family, I think you would call them, and there was also a lot of academic challenges as well. Growing up, things happened that weren't so good, as happens to many of us.
Absolutely, it does. And if only people would actually acknowledge that, but many people keep it buried deep within.
Yeah. And so over I guess my working was my first way that when I got out there and started working and being with other people, I started to realise that I didn't feel so good, and things started to show up that weren't so comfortable, and I really got to the point, and I think it was because of the job I was working in. I worked with youth that were no longer at home. They were no longer in foster care, and they were in what we call residential care. And then they would have to go off to school and sort of blend in and be like everyone else. And of course they couldn't do that. But they had really challenging behaviours, and it brought up a lot of my behaviours and my programming that I'd never even looked at, let alone dealt with. It started really coming up, and
wow, it actually sounds like you're talking about my story, but anyway, go on.
So then, through that, I started going to counselling. I was diagnosed manic depressant.
Wow.
They wanted to medicate me. I have a history though. My whole family chose that option. So I had a really good understanding of what that meant, what it really meant. And I knew the impact on people around you when you take that option. It is an option, and for some people it's their only option. But for me, it wasn't an option, basically. So I then decided to go to counselling, and I went off to counselling, and I was doing that for quite some time. Well, I think it was about over a year. And I really wasn't getting anywhere. I was going there, I was crying the whole time, and then I was leaving. And this particular day I went there and my counsellor wasn't there, and they said, did I want to see someone else? And I said, I was desperate. I did. So I went and seen this lady, and she talked to me for a very brief time, and then she said to me, did I want to get rid of it? Which is an amazing question. I still use it today. And I'm like, well, yes, that's what I'm here for. And she used a process on me. Didn't know what it was, but I knew from that moment to this day, I've been able to talk about it, and a specific issue that all I could do was cry. I wouldn't even talk about it. So it was like it was gone. So I'm back doing the youth work, and I'm working with all these youth. And then it was a couple of years later that a young boy presented the same. So he'd come and he would cry the whole time. He would never say anything, and then he would leave. So then I started thinking, hang on a minute, what was it that lady used? What was the process? So that was back in 98, and the process was emotional freedom technique. So it was the EFT. And so I studied it back then. And basically from that moment on, I haven't stopped studying the mind. And the more I know, the more I want to know. It just fascinates me how we think we are in charge, and we think that we are making all the decisions when we're so not.
And it's almost like a light bulb going off when you understand that moment, and you understand that we think that we're in control, but we're so not. There's something else going on upstairs that it just controls us.
100%. Well, I think they say 95%. So that the unconscious mind is basically where all my studies have been around, but also the mind-body connection. you know, and, you know, like doctor's visits, it's proven 85% of all doctor's visits are stress related. And, you know, the doctors aren't coped for that. They're not trained in that field. They're trained in diagnostics and, you know, and what prescription or what medications suit what particular ailments, but they don't really look a lot, and they're getting better, and they certainly, I'm meeting a lot of wonderful doctors nowadays that I work in conjunction with to help people.
Fabulous.
I know
that's a really big step forward.
Very exciting, very exciting.
Yeah.
And things like, there was a lady that come and see me. So her doctor had told her she had cancer, she had bladder cancer, and her doctor had told her that she was so stressed that the treatment wasn't working. So she come to see me. We worked through in, you know, a period of time the stresses she was facing.
Yes.
The treatment started working and cancer gone. So that stuff like that's very exciting. I really find that when you help people to relieve their stress, so much changes for them. And stress causes different things.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the stress compounds itself on a day-to-day basis, or week-to-week, or month-to-month, or year-to-year, but it's such a gradual process that we actually don't realise how stressed we're getting until we get to breaking point, until something happens with our body or our mind, and then, you know, maybe it's, you know, sometimes it's a little bit too late.
So true.
You know, we need to keep a little bit of a check, both physically and emotionally and psychologically on our stress levels. And I guess that's where the EFT helps out, because it's such a really simple process to implement. Yeah.
So the EFT itself, so that was, as I said, back in 98. So then I continued the studies, and I did neuro-linguistics programming, which I just likened to the pathways the brain takes to do certain things. We have these same pathways and the NLP helps you put a little detour in there. And you start to behave differently, and all of a sudden you forget about that way altogether and you do it this way. So that's the NLP side of it. And hypnosis, of course, is communicating directly with the unconscious mind.
Nice.
And then the faster EFT, Robert has taken the best from them modalities and combined it in even a simpler form.
Wow.
You know, it is just so simple to use.
Okay.
Now, in that, it's very behind the scenes, it's quite technical, and it has taken me years to master it.
Yes.
But that being said, it is very simple to use.
Wow.
And I used to find when I did the emotional freedom technique, perhaps 40 or 50% of my clients would use the process themselves. Now I find about 80%.
Amazing.
That is exciting, because it's empowering them to take control of their emotional state and their physical state. You know, you can release so much with it, whether it be emotions or physical.
So you've been studying for the last 10 years, so NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming.
Yep.
And you've taken that, or Robert has taken that and refined it down to another EFT process. So it's still has the same acronym, EFT, which I would have assumed is emotional freedom techniques, but it's not. It's another.
It is another
explanation.
It is. It's emotionally focused transformation. So it's and that's because we're looking at the emotions that make things real for us. So we may have memories from our past that really disturb us, and I think most of us have some sort of memories from our past that disturb us, or that stop us from making decisions that we want to make now. You know, and we all know that of people that have been in a relationship and they've come out of a relationship and they want to go into their next relationship, but they still have all this fear and anger, resentment, anxiety about their past relationships that they're then going to take into their new relationship. So So what the process is able to do, it's able to release the emotions from their memories. And when we release the emotions, it makes it no longer real for us. Because it's only the emotions that attach to their memories that make it real. And then we can also flip it as well, and we can make it feel good to us.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of us hear about learning from our past, and you know, that's like a flip. You know, you're taking something that wasn't so good. Like for instance, my upbringing. I said that I was challenged in the academic sense, and when I said challenged, I was challenged. I couldn't read and write for a long time. I really struggled with it. And the spelling was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So reading and writing was bad enough, but the spelling was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So all through school, that was a challenge for me, but it also made me create beliefs around that. So I had a belief that I couldn't read, and then I had a belief that I couldn't write. And it wasn't until quite late, when I was working with the youth, that I actually realised how strong a belief I'd made around that.
Yeah.
It was just, it really shocked me, because I worked within the school system, so I was in with the teachers.
Yeah.
And I used to say I couldn't, just offhand comment, I can't read. And this particular Christmas, we went out for a Christmas break-up, and we're at a restaurant, and I picked up the menu, and the teacher next to me just leant over and said, "Do you want me to read that for you?" And it was at that point I realised even what I'd been saying was so untrue.
Wow.
Because I could read.
Yes, yeah.
I couldn't read fluently and all this other, but I could read.
Yeah.
You know, there was a basic concept of reading there.
Yeah.
So by getting back in there, so that was at the point where I realised that I needed to go back and clean up some of them past memory, you know, having people laugh at you at school and make fun of you and all that sort of stuff.
And again, that sits in your subconscious for years and years and years, and it's just, you know, it can
right
be...
there.
Yes.
Yeah. And I now run seminars, and I write on whiteboards, and my spelling is still so creative. It is so creative. But I'm able to do that because there's no emotion to it anymore.
Yeah, of course.
If I hadn't have been able to take that emotion from it, there's no way I could be standing up and running seminars without worrying about, you know, being getting judged. It right and being judged.
Yeah.
So it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, it is exciting. So you've had obviously some fabulous successes, both from your childhood and now with the clientele you work with. Is that what keeps you motivated day by day, week by week, month by month? Or are there still some challenges that you find?
I find what keeps me motivated, I know that there has been so many times along the journey, or whatever you'd like to call it, that I've gone, what am I doing? Well, you just go out and get a job.
I think we all have those moments. You're not alone there, Pam.
It'd be so much easier if you just went out and got a job. But that being said, when you work with someone and you help them through one of their challenges, and you see them change, and that they're able to embrace things that they've never been able to embrace, but I think that is what just keeps me going, and myself still personally, because I keep, I guess, evolving or growing, or however you want to describe it. I find that what I thought was a challenge maybe 5 years ago now is second nature. Hence talking on a video or radio interviews, or, you know, there's no way in the past that wouldn't have even been in my concept of a possibility. Not only is it now a possibility, it now happens, and it's reality, and that happens constantly. So I think that's really exciting, and of course I'm still going to have challenges, because the moment I do that, then I want to come up with something else and do something else. So I'm always expanding my comfort zone. which means therefore there's always challenges that are presenting for me to work through, which is a lovely thing.
Well, it is, and you say we're always growing, we're always evolving, and I think once we stop that, if we ever do stop that, like we can stagnate for a little bit, and I do believe that our personal development journey goes in stages.
Yes.
You know, so you might have a growth spurt, and then you can level out a little bit and just rest on your laurels. Of what, you know, whatever you've managed to break through, whatever issue it is you've managed to break through. But I do believe that there's, you know, that's the way we learn, and then we grow a little bit more, and then we plateau out a little bit and grow a little bit more. You know, we've just got to have time just to be, as you say, and just breathe and just live every day. But it is a constantly evolving journey.
Yeah, and that's exciting.
It is exciting.
Because I look into the future and I have no idea. Because I know that there's no possible way I could have imagined this, so who knows where it's going to go to.
Yeah, but you're actually aware of the subconscious behaviour and how that plays out in your day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of people that, what I call, they don't live consciously. They live very reactively through their subconscious, and they don't even know sometimes why they make the decisions that they do, or react the way that they do. But it's just so deeply ingrained in their subconscious that, you know, it's just...
And I think that's when you know, well, that for me is when I give myself a big tick. When something happens in my world that I'm not expecting, that is out of the ordinary, that would in the past have massively, what we call, triggered me. Now there's no reaction. And that's when it's like, that's like the honey. That's like, that's why I'm doing the work. That's why I have stuck with it so long, and why, you know, I keep doing it, is to be less reactive to the world. It's good stuff.
Wow, that is fabulous. So where to now for Pam?
Where to now for Pam? Okay, well, I guess one of the things that I want to do is my network is Australia-wide and internationally. And I love running seminars and retreats. I've started running retreats.
Wow.
Now I'm thinking of other ways to get to my network. So whether it be webinars, whether it be online seminars. So there's got to be a way for me to now, which is going to be another huge learning curve, but I'm up for it. I've started doing webinars, but so there's got to be another way that I can find technology, that I can find that I can still run my seminars and have that contact with my network. You know, that want to hear more about me, more about my teachings, and passing on to them, you know, some of the gold that I've learned that helps me on a daily basis. So I think that's one of the things. Possibly, I think one of the other things personally for me is to become more authentic in the business environment. So I did a couple of corporate presentations where I've been able to go in and do stress presentations and that. And I found that I slipped in a bit to trying to be someone other than just the authentic, this is who I am, this is what I do. So that's an area personally that I'd really like to work on, so that I can just stay authentic in any given situation.
Well, I mean, if you've given where you were 5 years ago, to think that you'd be doing corporate presentations, you know, again, that comfort zone has actually expanded. So I'm sure you'll.
So lots of tapping between there and here. And lots of tapping between here and where I'm heading.
It's a lifelong journey, as you say.
It is.
Wow.
But one worth taking. And I guess that's when you go back to motivating, I honestly just had an image of my nieces and nephew flash into my mind, and for me that is another motivation. In the family dynamics that I grew up with, there's not a lot of role models that things can be different at all, really. There's no other role models, really. So that is another big motivator as well, to let them know that that there is another way, and let them see that, you know, you can be whatever you want to be.
Have the rest of your family taken on any of the EFT techniques?
No. My sister tried it for a while.
Yeah.
My sister herself was a practitioner for a while, not in the EFT, but in a complementary therapy field.
Right.
But it was, she just couldn't I don't know, just
sustain it.
Yeah, couldn't sustain it. So she was diagnosed bipolar and is now medicated, but doing really well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know, you can be medication free,
Yeah.
which is a huge plus.
It's
a
massive.
huge plus. And I only had a conversation with somebody today about, you know, if you take medications for one issue, the medications that they give out these days can also inflict other issues that weren't there in the first place. So,
Absolutely.
you know, if anybody's having issues, psychological, emotional, physical issues, it's way better to seek out alternative therapies rather than, some medication that you have absolutely no idea what other side effects it actually is doing to your body. So, yes.
And I do know, like for my sister, for example, you know, she needed that. You know, so I do know that there comes a point when, you know, if you can't sustain it, you need to do something. And I mean, I got really low. Like, you know, going back when I was first diagnosed, like I was in a bad way.
Yeah.
You know, we were rocking in a corner and, you know, suicidal thoughts and... But what's interesting, the more I've learnt and the more I've evolved, I have found that one of my biggest triggers and what I struggled with the most was when things went right.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
It's when I had everything. I had this gorgeous husband, I had a dog that I always wanted, both of us were working, we had no children, we were travelling. It was wonderful. And that's when I had my first breakdown.
Yeah.
So, and I've found since then, even to now, when I start to get everything that I want, that's when I've got to watch it the most.
So you sabotage them.
What people call sabotage, but what it really is, it's my stress threshold, because good and bad things are stress.
Yes.
You know, we know that when we're getting a new house, you know, you've got that, all that stress, but it's a good stress, but it's still a stress. So what I can judge now is as everything's starting to fall into place, and my business is going well and I'm feeling fantastic and money's rolling in and the business is, that's when I've got to watch it, because I start to realise that I'm hitting my stress threshold. But using the technique, I'm becoming more and more comfortable with things being okay.
Yeah.
But it was possibly, I believe, my biggest challenge. So cleaning out the past for me, even though there was some stuff there, it was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
But when I started to get this wonderful life and things started going wonderful for me, that is when I started going, oh, hang on a minute, this doesn't feel good. And I would basically pull the rug out from under myself, just so I could be in control. At least I know it's going now.
You're still in your comfort zone. You know, if you don't have the money coming in, if you're still wanting the house, the dog, the husband, and the ideal lifestyle, you're still actually maintaining a comfort zone around yourself. But if you're actually getting everything that you want to, it's the fear of success. It's not feeling good enough. It's not,
so
worthy of abundance.
Not deserving,
and it's huge because a lot of people don't realise that they do that.
Absolutely. They just think.
I used to do exactly the same thing, and it took me a while to go, why isn't this happening? You know, I'm putting all of this effort into it, and I'm getting nothing back. And it took me years to work it out.
Yeah.
And I went through the same thing, and you know, probably on some level still going through that.
Yeah.
And I also really have to watch myself when I do start to have success. The stress levels just blow out. Yeah.
Which is a way of So it's just watching that and but now like it's going really good before it gets to that.
Yeah.
So before it was just a couple of things going right and it was
Yeah.
enough to stress me out.
Yes. Yeah.
Where now it's, you know, things are really going right and then it's like, okay, just watch it, you know. And by that I mean we can use the process to release the resistance to being happy.
Yeah.
You know? And the business is definitely in the last probably 6 months to a year been heading more in cultivating happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So that's because yes, we can take out the stress, but as I said with me, some of the things that I've really noticed is, you know, I've got to work at allowing that happiness to come in and looking at ways to allow to build that threshold, you know, which can be many different things, but I do a lot more on the cultivating of happiness now rather than just the releasing the past. Because I thought once I released the past, like I would be happy.
Yes. Yeah.
And you are to a certain extent.
If only it was that simple.
But I thought it was like, okay, I just released, you know, we're told we get back there and we clean all that up and life's going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
And it was until my programs or my unconscious conditioning would kick in and go, hang on a minute, you know, this isn't safe. And it's that unconscious, not safe feeling that people, I guess, call self-sabotage but really it's the unconscious loving us so much that it does not want us to experience whatever that was in the past. So.
Yes, it's that whole comfort zone again.
Yeah.
And it really keeps us stuck.
Yeah. But we need to get out of it because that's where the magic happens.
Yes. Yeah.
When we're out of that comfort zone, that's when the magic happens. Isn't it?
Yes, I had a very good comment by somebody who said there are so many people that die at 30 and get married at 70.
Yeah, good comment.
Because
Very
they just
comment.
shut down their whole internal emotional system because it's too hard to deal with. You know,
they just don't
I'm
have
silly
the
or
skills.
dumb or, you know, people might think I'm, you know, got something wrong, you know, all of these issues, and people go, oh no, it's too hard, it's too much, it's silly, it's the silly thing that I've got, it's a silly belief, so they don't do anything with it, and it just compounds and compounds and compounds. Yeah. And it just, you know, then they just stay stuck in this little life. Great
comment. Love it. I will use that one. Thank you for that, Liz. I will use that one because it's so true. It is so true. But life's for living, and we're put on this earth for whatever reason, and that's what we need to do. Yeah, and I know in a lot of cases with rape or sexual abuse in young females, it's not until they reach around the 30s, maybe mid-30s, married or not, with their own children, any recognition or any thoughts about the sexual abuse they had when they were children gets repressed. Yeah. And it more than often comes up in their 30s. Yeah. Because because it's time then for them to release it. Yeah. But the ones that don't are the ones that stay stuck. And what I find with, because I must admit, I would say 80 to 90% of my business with the women, that's what it's around. That they have some sort of inappropriate behaviour, whether it be rape or molested or the inappropriate behaviour. But once again, what I have found interesting, so yes, we can heal the trauma, and I know for myself personally, so I was molested, and for myself personally, it was no big deal. Yeah. And it wasn't, and I know that, but it wasn't until I got older that I realised how sad it was, the fact that it was no big deal. Wow. That was to me the bigger trauma. Yeah. The bigger trauma for me was when I got older and I realised that it was no big deal. Yeah. So what I found is by helping people to heal their their abuse or whatever it is, that once again, that's still not the end of the problem.
No, it's not.
You then got to take them to embracing their sexuality, to being able to be feminine again, to be able to express their sexuality, and that it be okay. Because when something like that happens, and for most people it's at a very young age, it just messes it all up. It just, the whole concepts around it just get so messed up. So it's really good then to be able to, okay, yes, we can heal all that, and it's very easy with these processes to heal it. Very easy. And it's one of my joys to do, because I know what you've given back to them. But then I take them from that to really being able to embrace their sexuality and express it, and which is just wonderful.
Yes. Well, Pam, thank you so much today. I have learned so much about the EFT, and it doesn't mean emotional freedom techniques anymore. There's more than one. There's more than one acronym. But just in general about the people that may have issues, whether they're small or large, people actually don't address them when they should.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess my advice to them is don't wait until it all hits. You know, because sometimes when everything hits the fan, a lot of the work is done in just cleaning up right there and then. Where if they want to look at their life being better and they come in when it's not in crisis point, we're better able to get the underlying programming and conditioning that we keep repeating throughout life. So if your life's not zinging in a certain area, you know, just go to the website. It's pamwright.com.au and WRIGHT. Just go to the website. All my contacts are there. My Facebook,
the
YouTube channel. All the links are from the website.
But I guess it's it's that age old adage that prevention is better than cure. So you're much better at hitting it early rather than waiting until your whole world implodes, depending on what the issue is. And then having to deal with the stress as well as what the issue is. So,
and I think that's what I find with people. When they come in and they're just not zinging, we get some really great work done. Where if they come in and they're in crisis point, a lot of the work is in cleaning up, and then we get to the underlying stuff. So and it's so it's worth it. It is so worth it. Life's worth it.
Well, it is. It's all about life, isn't it?
And I love, don't wait. Now's the time.
Thank you so much, Pam.
Thank you, Liz.
And again, head over to the website www.pamwright.com.au, and that's WRIGHT. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.